everybody, I have a quick 3D project for you today. I recently had an outlet cover come off an outdoor receptacle, and to keep lizards from pooping in there, I need to 3D print another one. So grab a pen and paper and something hard to write on, and draw out the front and side view of the outlet cover box. Add in any small details like the knobs on the side and the little frame around the edge. Grab your calipers and take measurements all around the outside of the box. Write each measurement down on paper while you go to avoid as many missed measurements as possible. Now, draw out the cover. You may be wondering why draw it out. It's always best to draw out new parts so that you can see if there is a shortcut to creating the part or if there's a possible issue that you may have to be aware of. In my book, Improving CAD Designs with Autodesk Fusion 360, I have a chapter dedicated to drawing out your ideas. So I added a few more dimensions and I'm ready to start the model in Fusion 360. We're going to start the sketch with the 80.5mm dimension on the outside of the box, and then use the shell tool to remove the interior and give us the 79.2mm dimension. Open Fusion 360 and hit the Save button, then type in Outlet Cover Box and hit OK. Create a new component. What a component is, it acts as basically a box container that allows you to store sketches, bodies, construction planes, anything that kind of has to deal with that particular part. So we're going to call this outlet box because it's basically going to create the outlet box as a separate entity because it's basically the outlet box, and then you have the cover, which will be another separate component. Click OK. Notice that it drops down, the radio button from the top drops down and makes this component active. See, it's the active component. That means that anything that we do will be stored in this component level right here. So we're going to click on Sketch, we're going to click on the front sketch, and then we're going to draw a box. So we can draw the box from the corner point up and over and go that way, but usually whenever I'm drawing, I like to have my planes. If I click on the origin, I like to have my planes right in the center of the actual item. So in order to do that, I'm going to click on rectangle again, and I'm going to click on center rectangle, and I'm going to click on that center again, and notice it draws it all from the center point and going out. Then we can go in and add our dimensions. I'm going to click on the front view, get us back to looking at the plane, draw out. And currently you can see I have it set in inches. If I go over to my document settings over here, I drop that little drop down and I go to inches right here. I click on that and I can change it to millimeters. The reason why I'm changing it to millimeters is that's what was taken for all my parts here. So it's basically going to be an 80.5mm. This is the interior dimension here. So this is the 80.5mm is right here, 80.5. And the other one is 138. So 138. And hit enter. And then when I click on finish sketch and I go to orbit just so you can see, I'm going to click on extrude and I'm just going to draw it backwards, and that creates our box. And I'm going to set it to be 25mm. So 25 and hit enter. And there we go. We got our box to start off with. Alright, now we are going to use the shell tool to basically remove out of this front face and add a thickness to the inside. So it's going to be 80.5 minus 79.2. Do 80.5 minus 79.2. The reason why I'm using parentheses is because I actually have to divide by 2 because it needs to be split on either side. And I can click OK. Alright, next step is we are going to create that outside border by just picking on a sketch and clicking on this front plane. And then what we're going to do is going to click on the offset tool, select this outer line, drag it out, and basically the distance is going to be, let's see, so we have 81.8 minus 80.5, so I got 81.8 minus 80.5 divided by 2 once again, and there we go. Got that outer lip. I'm going to click on finish sketch, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the extrude tool and just pick that outer little band that we have there and extrude it back backwards. There we go. See? And 3.3 is the distance. So minus 3.3. Okay, next step, we're going to add in the nubs on the side. Click on Create Sketch, select the side of the outlet cover box, and just create a circle. It doesn't have to be at any distance or any size at the moment. Just kind of create it and place it. And it is 5 millimeters in diameter. And when I place mine to the edges, but if you notice there's a center dot, and when you create a dimension, it will only let you place to the center of it. So that's okay. You just got to do a little bit of math. So I'm going to left click, place this dimension, make sure to put the X and Y, or horizontal, vertical dimensions. So this one's going 9.6 from the front all the way over. So I'm going to say 9.6, and then just say minus 2.5. The 2.5 meaning that this is half of that. So it's basically the radius. So that's where that one is. Same thing for here. So I'm going to go 7 is the full distance. 7 minus 2.5. There we go. Click on Finish Sketch. And then we're going to click on Extrude. And pull that guy out of the way. And it is 7.6. Now, to basically, instead of doing all that to the other side, we're just going to use the mirror tool. So I'm going to go click on Create, click on Mirror, and if I select Body, that's in the entire body. I don't want that. I just want to select that one little feature there. So I'm going to click on the drop down here, click on Features, and then go down to my timeline and click on the that last extrusion, which was a feature, the last thing I did. Click on Mirror Plane. If you scroll back a little bit, I'm going to select this as a mirror plane. You can see there it is right there. And click OK. So now I have both of my nubs on either side. And this should do it for the outlet cover box. Now we're going to create the outlet cover. Okay, so the first step in creating our outlet cover is we need to create another component. But first, we need to get out of this level of componentry. We got to go up to the very top level if we're going to create a separate part. Or otherwise, it'll be built within here. So if I type in outlet cover, and I click OK, so you can place it as a separate component right there. So now we're going to create a sketch, and I'm going to create my sketch on the back side here. The reason why I'm creating on the back side, I want to actually create my sketch. That's going to be where it stops, and it's going to basically go up and over and go forward, rather than build it kind of on the front plane and kind of go back and go forward. It's probably easier just to go on the back plane and then just extrude everything forward. So I need to just create a sketch there, click on project, and I'm going to project all these edges in, these outer edges right here. Just go around, make sure to get all the outer edge. If you ever want to select something and you don't want to orbit, just left click and hold, and you can see there's a bunch of options will pop up, and just select on that edge, click on OK. Now that I have all those edges selected, I'm going to have to do an offset because I need to go up and over this whole edge. I'm going to click on offset, select that edge that we just had selected, and now it's basically going up and over. We'll probably make about 2 millimeters for now, and click OK. And now what we're going to do is I am going to click Finish Sketch, turn off the outlet box, and we're going to extrude. And I can't just select this one and extrude forward. See how if I were to select that and go forward, it makes a hole? So it's not what I really wanted to do. I want to actually select everything and actually have a face on the other side as well. So what I need to do is select all these parts first, and then we'll do a cut afterwards. Because that cut is going to be a different depth than the front side. So I'm going to turn on my sketch here so I can see where it is. There's that purple line right there. So that's where I need to cut. I'm going to click on Extrude, select this guy, and select this guy. And then as I drag forward, I'm going to place this cut Probably let's do minus 12 like that. So I have, oh, I didn't even look to see what my distance was. I always kind of even out these numbers. And again, we don't necessarily need to, we're just drawing it out for now. We can play with it afterwards. So no worries about getting your numbers right, especially when you're just kind of creating a new part. We just want to make sure that we are going up and over this guy and it's not cutting through. And I just want to double check something. Oh, look at that. It looks like it did. If I go in and I turn off sorry. Oh, nope, it did, kept it. Good. Just want to make sure. I've had issues where sometimes I've accidentally deleted geometry, especially when you're doing cuts. If I were to double click back into this cut, see how this is the objects to cut? Make sure it's only cutting the outlet cover and not the outlet cover. If I were to select this, it would cut the outlet cover, outlet box, that extra lip I added, and the outlet cover. So just want to make sure that if you ever accidentally delete something, you can double click inside and go to the objects to cut right there. Okay, the next step is to create the holders that will basically connect into these pins right here. So I'm going to click on Create Sketch. I'm going to select this side edge right here. And let's zoom in to the circle area. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a project include. The reason why you always do a project include, in case we have to make an adjustment, we have to maybe slide this guy up forward, it will also slide your hole forward as well. So I'm going to click there. I'm going to do a little tiny offset right here. I'm going to do it in 1/16. Yeah, actually, we'll do 1/8. That way, make sure it fits up and over. Never want to place it up and over on exactly the same size geometry, especially if you want something to kind of slide around something else. All right, then we're just going to draw a circle like this. And I'm going to, if I mouse over that point, you can see I'm kind of inferring where it's located. This way, it doesn't give you an exact, it doesn't hold it. As you can see, it's still blue. Whenever you see something that's still blue, it means it's still open. But if I just left click and drag, there we go. I got that dimension. I'm going to click a line, click off to here. And then I'm going to click another line. And in order to get from here to here, I'm actually going to left click back here. And as I drag, you see I'm getting a tangency. That little icon shows tangency. And I'm just going to come over. And as I come down, you can see I got that little perpendicular. But it's okay if you miss it. No worries. Watch, if I left click and click right there, I still have that tangency. And all I got to do is just left click onto this and say horizontal vertical. Now everything's basically nice and tight. And I can leave this on this edge. Fusion does not care. But I'm going to trim it up just to keep it nice and clean. There we go. So now everything is still black. And I'm going to click on Finish Sketch. And as I orbit, I am going to pull it back. Not all the way to this face. Again, I want to leave some gap space. Because if I were to select this one, it's going to rub against it. So I'm actually going to select it just to see the distance. And I'm going to pull it back to maybe, let's make it an even 2. This way, I've got a little bit of gap, wiggle space in between there. And this one's coming all the way to the edge as well. So now, remember what we did last time where we did a mirror and we mirror to the other side? We're going to do the same thing. We're going to create mirror. I'm going to go to Features, select that very last extrude that I did, mirror plane. And again, see how it's a little bit difficult to hide? We can either turn off the outlet box, or I can just left click and hold. And I can mouse down. Oh, there's the one right there. See how it highlights right there? And it pops on the other side and click OK. So now I've got my outlet cover box. Okay, we're going to add in an as-built joint to see and check if anything is touching. And the way we do that, we're just going to go and highlight the top level. I'm going to turn off the sketches so I can see, and also turn off the origin so I can see a little bit better. If I were to left click and drag, I can drag both of these parts wherever I want. But what I want to do, since these both parts were created exactly where they should be, I can use what's called an as-built joint, which is right here. When I left click onto the as-built joint, I can select the components. This is also one of the reasons why you make objects into components, if you wanted to use joints. They have to be components, not bodies. So I'm going to select on this one and select on this one. And then you can see I have a variety of different types. The one I want is Revolute. I'm going to select that one. I'm going to select this point right here. And as you can see, it still moves around and rotates in the correct direction. But you can change any of the rotation direction in case it's not. Click on OK. And if you notice, if I were to click on this, both parts move, which is very odd. You actually have to tell what one part to not move. So I'm going to click on Revert Position and then go over to the outlet box because I want this one is very static. It's not going to go anywhere. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say ground. Say don't move. So I'm going to left click here again, and you can see now I can open my outlet cover box without any issue. Notice it also still goes through the outlet part. There's nothing that tells Fusion to not do that, unless you actually were to select and say enable contact sets, but we're not going to do that at the moment. I'm going to click on Revert Position, and now what we're going to do is we're going to check and see if there's anything hidden. Fusion actually comes with an interference checker right here. If I were to left click onto interference checker, I can select both these parts like this. If I click on include coincident faces and click on compute, you can see that this part right here is basically saying, hey, there's stuff that's kind of a little bit too close. So what we're going to do, even if I click on show all interference and click OK, it will basically say, hey, that's where you're actually touching something. If I didn't have that on, if I left click and clicked on interference, turn off include and coincidence, and I click on compute, it's going to say, hey, I found nothing because there's nothing that's actually inside something else. What this says is there's stuff that's a bit too close to each other. And we can view that by going back into inspect and click on section analysis. If I click on section analysis, it asks, okay, have a cut plane. You can actually create your own cut plane, or I can just use the origin planes right here. If I click on XY and I click on OK, and if I click on right here, you can see that this edge is right on top of it, meaning that there's no gap in between. It's very, very tight. They're built right on top of each other. It's going to be very hard to move when they're right on top of each other. So I need to give a little bit of a space in between there. Best way to do that is by using the press pull tool. So I'm going to click and turn off section analysis. See, there's a little separate folder right here. If I click off section analysis, that turns it off. And I'm going to turn off the outlet box. And I'm going to go to the inside here. And all of these edges all touch. So I'm going to click on press pull, and I need to move them all out a little bit. So I'm going to click on each of the edges. And I don't need to move them a giant distance, just enough so that it's not touching anymore. So I'm going to, instead of pulling in, I'm going to pull out a minus sign. So minus, I'm going to say 1/16 and click OK. Now if I click back to my right side here, and I click on section analysis, and I turn on that other outlet cover body, you can see I've given it a nice little gap distance right there. That way it actually will slide up and over this space. You never want to have things touching right on top of each other unless you really want them to be really sandwiched in between. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to check my gap for rotation here. So when I rotate this part, I want to see if it's actually clearing. So I'm going to turn back on my section analysis, and I want to rotate this part and make sure that nothing is touching. Oh, it touches right up there. So I need to basically pull this part back a bit. So if I would go up to 90 degrees, it's hitting right in here. No worries, that's where we can go back in. I'm going to click on Revert Position. And there's that edge right there that's actually hitting. I'm going to pull and use my press pull one more time. Just like that. And pull it back. Let's say minus 1. And click on OK. So now I'm going to click back to the right. I'm going to check that rotation again. And there we go. I'm up to 90 degrees. That's what I want. There's nothing touching. Another thing to kind of see, I'm going to click on Revert Position. If I clicked OK, it'll basically keep it where it is, but I want to revert it back to where it was. This is a huge opening right here. Very, very big. So I'm going to close that opening up and shorten this up. The way I can do that is I'm going to go back in time into my timeline. Go down to my outlet cover and double click onto this part here. I remember I said minus 12 in order to get that. I'm going to say minus 14 instead. And there we go. And now I'm going to shorten up that minus 12, which is right here. I'm going to shorten that up to say, let's say minus 6. That's pretty good. Click OK, and I'm going to shorten this one up again. And again, this is where you're just playing. I'm just going to leave it minus 8. So it's about 2 millimeters ahead of it. There we go. Look at that. That's much better. Let's double check again. Rotate. Everything's cool. Yeah, look at that. Everything clears. Let me just revert that. This is what I'm worrying about, making sure that I can clear in between here. See that distance right there? That's why I didn't want to put it right on this edge right there. Clears without any issues. Revert to position. And then just turn off your section analysis. And I'm going to select the top level. And there we go. We got our outlet cover box all ready to go and be 3D printed. Okay, so for the 3D printing stage, all we got to do is right click and we can say save as mesh. And then click on OK. And that will basically tell us where you want it. We can set it to an STL file and send it off to your 3D printer, or you can also use Fusion's built-in manufacturing environment. So if I click on the design drop-down and click on manufacture, you can see Fusion has the ability to do milling, turning, and additive. Additive is basically adding material. So what we need to do is click on setup, bring over this little process, and if I click on machine, you can see there's a variety of machines that you can be using in Fusion 360. So if you don't see your machine in here, you can actually create your own, no worries. I'm just going to pick one, probably the Creality. And you can see it basically creates the volume. If I choose something else, the volume will be different. It will be a different size part. I just want to 3D print the outlet box here. I can do that 2 different ways. I can either select right here and turn off that outlet cover backside the box, or I can click on select model and just pick that. Make sure that it is picking that piece. Make sure to set printer settings as well to whatever is that 3D printer. Some 3D printers might have more. This one just has PLA, so I'm just going to double click on that to set that as a PLA. And then click on OK. Notice how it says, hey, we need to arrange and place these parts right on top. We're going to arrange in 2D. The components is that one. I'm going to click on OK. It puts it inside, but it leaves it on this side. So meaning it would 3D print and go do 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 and make that. We want to put it on this flat edge right there. So we can actually adjust the position on this side right here. 2 days we can do that. We can click on Move Components. You just grab these rotating handles right here. And it's going to rotate it down to 90 degrees. You can also type in the number as well. Then click on OK. And as you can see, if I orbit around, you can see it's floating. We don't want that. We don't want things floating. So I'm going to click on here, and you can also see Place Parts on Platform. If I click that, it automatically selects the place, and I'll click on OK. And it places it right down on the platform. You can still do further adjustments if you need to. Once you get that set up, the next thing is you go over to simulate the toolpath. And then click on Calculate, and it'll start going and generating. This could could take some time depending on the size of the part. Since it's just a really quick part, it should go really quickly. I can click on Play, and it will go through all the steps of where it's going to add in each level of material. If I can drag it up, you can see I can step it real quick, and that is my part. When I click on Post Process, it'll bring it up to where I want to create this machine, where it's going to be posted, also where I want to place it. And that's going to generate that G code for the printer. All I have to do is click on Post, and that will send it off to, if I have it connected to the printer, it will send it off right to the printer. And that is the process for creating our part. Now that the part is complete, we can start to clean it up. So get out your table, grab your part, and grab some filers, and then start going easily around, removing any little spurs or any little indentations, anything that could possibly get in the way of rotation around the part. Be careful not to break it like I just did. And if you do, just 3D print another one. That's the great thing about 3D printing. You can just grab another one, grab the table again, grab the part, grab your filers once again, and then go ahead and clean up the part once more. Finally, remove the lizard pupe from the outlet, put it on the cover on the little nubs, test it, and see if it works. Alright, here are some final thoughts on the outlet cover box project. There are a variety of ways to create this project. It's not just the way I showed you in the video. You could basically split it right in half and then mirror it to the other side. That's one way of doing it, just draw only one half of it. There's a way of maybe if I drew the outlet cover, the outlet box, and then I drew another sketch on the outlet cover and I extruded it and then added in the hinges up here. That's another way to do it. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. But the most important thing that I want you to get out of this video is to basically be kind to yourself. You're learning Fusion 360 and it's going to take months to learn it, not days or hours. Just be kind to yourself, play, practice, fail, and then repeat again. That's basically how I learned. And it's just going to take a little bit of time and effort and you'll get it eventually. Secondly, congratulations for completing the outlet cover. Great job if you followed along. I hope it has a couple of good ideas in there for you to use on your other projects. If you're interested, if you're learning Fusion 360, please pick up my new book, Improving CAD Design with Autodesk Fusion 360. It's out right now, and I hope it helps you with your projects. So thank you very much for following along, and have a great day.